What's going on, everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live yet again on this beautiful, windy for some, loving it for me Wednesday. You know, it's going down, Bowie TV, through the eye of the tiger, Coach Bernard Clark Jr. You know what it is, Robert Morris University. Let's go, Bobby Mode. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well. Everything's going good, man. Like you said, it's a little breezy outside. It's supposed to get down to 39 at night, so, you know, I'm going to still have my windows open because I like sleeping when it's cold. I don't like being in the cold, but I don't mind sleeping when it's cold.
Yeah. Well, y'all, I just want y'all to know about this time next week, Coach will be telling y'all it's too cold in Pittsburgh. Who knows? They might get some snow next week. You never know when they come to
Don't
Pittsburgh.
say that. Don't say that. Please don't say that.
Send it on down this way if you do.
No, everything's going well, man. No complaints, man. Just trying to get over the next one, man. Again, like I said, there's no winning and losing, only winning and learning. So we're trying to learn from this last one again, trying to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do and change some things up a little bit this week to get the right mindset going in the right direction.
Absolutely, Coach. You know, last week's contest against Mary Mac didn't, go in the favor and in the way that you would have liked it to. Can you share what were some of the challenges that you faced during that game for the outcome to be in defeat?
You know what, Pitts, man? The whole thing is this, to be totally honest with you. I've been thinking about, what we're trying to do this year. We're trying to play fast, trying to start fast, trying to play physical, and trying to finish. And the first two have been working out pretty doggone good. Against Merrimack, we go down, defense goes out there, defense stops it. We go down, get it to the offense, boom, offense puts it in the end zone. So we're starting fast, and we're playing physical. We're doing those things. We're not finishing. And that's the thing that's bothering me right now. So we got to find a way to finish. So we amped up a few things in practice this week so we can learn how to finish a football game. Because you think about it, the score is going into the fourth quarter, the score is 10-7 going into the fourth quarter. And for some reason, we're not finishing. They did, but we didn't. And I think that's what upset me most about that game. We just didn't finish. We didn't play 60-plus minutes like we're capable of doing.
And then when you going into the fourth, say it was 10-7, and you scored 24-10. Do you think that was it more of the team just ran out of gas, or they started, or the lack of executing as in the fourth quarter as the game wore on?
I think that's what it had to do with more than anything, the lack of execution. And this week, this is probably the first week that the special teams hurt us a little bit. The defense didn't have favorable field position all game long. For the most part, Merrimack started at like the -40, -39, -4, basically all game. So it was a tough situation because, as you know and I know, when it comes to field position, if you start out on a -20, you have a 1 in 20 chances or 1 in 30 chances of scoring. You bump up to the -40, you got a 1 in 8 chance of scoring something. So, and that hurt us a little bit. So special teams wise, we had to make sure we fix some things there and make sure the guys understood. We slowed it down a little bit this week as opposed to trying to get reps. We wanted to get quality reps in as opposed to quantity of reps. We want to make sure our guys understand exactly what we're looking for, what's happening. The weird part about it, we got a punt tip, we got a punt block, and all it was is the simple fact that we got a left-footed punter. So if our guys understand we got a left-footed punter and they block to the left as opposed to blocking to the right, the punt doesn't get blocked. So things like that, we got to make sure our guys remember and understand things like that. We could have had the ball at the -2 yard line. We're constantly telling our guys, hey, man, get behind the returner. Get behind the returner. When he doesn't fair catch, get your feet at the hand, get your heels at the top of the end zone. So make sure you can stop the ball. Our guy didn't get back there, bounces to the end zone. They get the ball at 20 as opposed to getting at the -4. So things like that, we reiterated to our guys on special teams to understand how important special teams are. And like I said, that hurt us a little bit, but also lack of execution in the fourth quarter, also on defensively, offensively, and special teams.
And you take that into, situational football in itself too, when we talk about the offense, the defense, and the special teams being complementary towards each other. When you talk about, the special teams in regards to, the hills, whether you're the gunner, shooting down to stop the ball from going in the end zone, or, if you're on punt return and you're the return man, not returning, a punt that is going 10 yard, having your heels on the 10-yard line, anything over your head, you let go.
Mm-hmm.
Before we talk about adjustments, to basically to attack and to make sure that the excitement, the emotion, and the execution doesn't lack against Central Connecticut State. Can you talk about how the quarterbacks played out for you? I know Zach. Was Zach available this week? I know it was a last minute. He was going to be a last minute addition or scratch. How did that work out for you guys?
Well, we got down there. Zach came with us on the trip, obviously, and then he got in the locker room. He did the biggest thing with him is he said, "Coach, it's not hurting unless I rotate." Obviously, he has to rotate,
yeah,
as a quarterback. And so I said, "How's it feeling?" So he tested it out before we went out. Tested out in the locker room. Said, "Coach, I can't make the movements I need to do to put the ball where it needs to be at. Like he can throw the ball, but he can't follow through, so he can't place the ball. So he has no." When he's trying to put it where it needs to be at, his accuracy is not what it needs to be at. He can still toss it, but you don't have the accuracy. It's hard to do. And we don't know if he can take a hit yet. So he decided not to go last week. He's been doing a little bit more this week, been flipping his hips a little bit. So we'll see. Again, it's going to be a game time decision on whether he can go for us or not. But the young pup went in there. Cooper Pantek went in there. Cooper did a pretty good job. Like I said, that first drive he goes down. We have a big run, I think a 74-yard run by Owen McGraw, one of our transfer running backs we got in. And then Cooper punches it in the end zone. He gets it to Chaz Middleton, and Chaz catches the ball and puts it in. So things are going well. It's just that, they didn't know the quarterback we were getting. So once we got Cooper in there, they still had to adjust to Cooper now. They didn't adjust to Jake, who played against Dayton, and Amir, who played against Dayton. They thought it was going to be more of a running guy. Well, Cooper's more of a pocket passer. So what they do, they made their adjustments in order to make things happen. So they threw some different things at Cooper that he hadn't seen all week against them. For the most part, they were a cover 1 and a 2 Tampa team. But they started doing some 2 slice. They started playing some quarters. They started playing some 3. And they started throwing some different things that the young man hadn't seen. Now, had that been Zach seen most of the coverages in college. Well, Cooper hadn't seen all those coverages in college yet. But he made the adjustment. We just couldn't put the points in the end zone. I think we had a couple turnovers. So, like I said, we weren't executing. And, the whole thing is, man, we got to get our running game established, and we're just not doing it. And we thought we had it with Owen, and then Owen went to the side, and he ended up spraining his foot. So it's a situation where, like, as soon as we get a guy to break a 74-yard run, now he sprains his foot. Ethan Shine is a good running back for us, but Ethan's more like an every down back. He's going to get you that 5 yards, that 4 yards, but he doesn't have that breakaway speed like you and I spoke about. Yeah. He catches well out of the backfield. He does a lot of good things. He blocks well, picks up blocks and stuff like that. That's the positive thing I can definitely say. Our O-line did a great job of protecting him in pass protection. Did a great job of protection. I think we only gave up 1 sack, where in previous games I think we gave like 2 or 3 sacks. So that's a positive coming out of it. But I think Cooper's going to be fine. We're going to still try to see what he can do. If Zach can't go right now, like I said, Zach's going to be a game time decision.
When you talk about, having that home run hitter, as you said, with the running back that sprained his ankle, and you talk about, being an every down back. When you look at the overall game, for the first 3 quarters, I'm only, in my words, not yours,
right,
that your team was playing almost semi-complimentary. There may have been some hiccups along the way, but nothing too detrimental where it was cost-effective to the outcome of the game.
Right. Yeah, you're 100% correct. Our guys were complimenting each other. Even though we weren't getting any points, we weren't giving up any points either. We did a good job of playing hard. And special teams-wise, even though it was hurting us a little bit here and there, for the most part, our guys were doing what they needed to do on special teams. Our punt return was good. We got a turnover also. So we were complimenting each other throughout the game. It only came to the 4th quarter, that it became a problem. But, Cam Newton said this, and I heard him say it, and that's so true. It doesn't matter what you do the first, second, and third quarter. The game can only be won in the 4th quarter. It doesn't make a difference. When I was a defensive coordinator, I used to tell our offensive guys all the time, man, the bottom line is this. Defense has to play throughout. The offense can show up in the 4th quarter and score 30, 40 points and win the football game. Defense has to make sure they're on point every single quarter, so they're not giving up points and not giving up things like that. Offensively, they can keep warming up, because bottom line is offense can punt.
Yeah.
defense can't punt. So it's a situation where the game can only be won in the fourth quarter. So we gotta learn to finish and finish strong.
And going into this week's preparation against Central Connecticut State, I know last week our word of the week was so. What are we looking at this week for our word of the week for the student athletes?
Absolute mentality.
Hmm.
They've got to change their mentality on the field. We got to be fast. It's got to start fast. Got to be physical, and we got to finish. And the mentality has to change like that. And and I know that's probably one of the most important things. But as you go through all of our word of the weeks, as we go talk about distraction, discernment, and everything, all of it's leading to a mentality. It's no different than the 4 quarters. We talk about our 5th quarter. We're going into Ubuntu. It's all about a mentality, a mindset of a group of guys that needs to come together and understand the things we need to do to win. And the great thing about it, one of our players, Marcus Badgen, he kept saying something all week long. He said, why not us? Why not us? Why can't we do what we need to do to get things going? And Coach Scott has this saying with the defensive line. Coach Sam Scott, he's our defensive line coach. He has this saying, we all we got. And they say we all we need. So I love that because it goes right along with Ubuntu in the 5th quarter. I am because we are, because we all we got and we all we need. We got to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. So our mentality has to be that this week, and our guys have to have that right mentality.
When you talk about mentality being the your word of the week, and then you bring up, the we're all we got. For me, personally, that was something that my grandmother and I used to say to each other every single time. Every time we got off the phone, and I didn't necessarily understand it early on in life what it meant, until, but we said it up until she passed. And, when you talk about, we're all we got, it's a mindset that goes with that, which goes into the mentality of the fact that, regardless of what's going on around us, regardless of what's going on in that moment, always know, regardless, through and thick, we're going to be in it together, win, lose, or draw. And, and the sowing and the discernment, and the develop, all of that plays into, the finish, the mentality, the 4 quarters. One thing you always say, or coaches always say is, there's 60 plus minutes, right? Like in the game of football, because in the
And in the end, like Pitts was saying, there's 60 plus minutes in the game of football. So you got to have the right mentality to go 60 plus minutes, not just go, 3 quarters, not just go 2 quarters. Got to make sure we're going 4 quarters.
Right. My apologies, Coach.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, it's that mentality of basically wrapping everything into that one, and understanding that, regardless what goes on the outside of the walls of the team's mindset has to be singularly in the same place, in the same direction. It can't, it takes 1 of 11, right? You're 1 of 11 on the field, but every one person has a particular job. And if that one person is not mentally locked in, and he's not sewing in what the other 10 are putting in, it still has the propensity, it still has the possibility to unravel what could have been.
Yeah, no doubt. Sometimes you have to check yourself. And I think also this week, I'm checking myself a little bit too, because I'm starting to think, was I too hard at halftime? Because we're down 10-3, and I felt like we were slipping like we did the week before, where we started fast and everything was going good and we were being physical. Then all of a sudden, we're down 10-3 and everybody's in the locker room and they're kind of cheerful. I'm like, what are we cheerful about?
Yeah.
We can't let up. We can't do that. So I kind of snapped a little bit, but maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. So I'm trying to make sure I stay in the right frame of mind. And my mentality has to change also to understand that I can't lose these guys. Exactly what you just said. You and your grandmother said, like I said, Coach Scott said, we all we got. So what I can't do is get these guys so down on themselves and get so down on them that they feel like I don't love them, or they feel like I don't care about them as men and as people. Because again, we're all we got, man. I am because we are. In order for us to be good, I have to make sure that everybody's in the place where they need to be at. But again, it goes back with that word of the week. Our mentality has to be there.
Yeah, and honestly, Coach, for me as a previous and my younger life football player, I wouldn't have an issue with you coming in at halftime, because for me, one of the things that I've always felt like, when you get into halftime and if you're up, you're either still going to be hungry or you're going to get lax, right?
Yes.
And when you're celebrating too early, you're getting lax. You're already counting your chickens. You're already counting a victory that has yet to strike zero, right? So I understand why you don't want the players to be too overzealous in the locker room at halftime, because at the end of the day, just like the first two quarters may have gone their direction, it's always a game of four quarters,
Yes.
and those other two quarters can flip. And, just as an example, you play three strong quarters, and then we get to the fourth quarter and we have, the, the lack of execution and mental lapses
Absolutely.
that take place in the fourth quarter of a football game, right? That's why a lot of coaches at the end of a game, they may have their team run, right? Because when you're tired, you feed into it. But if you run after and you're tired, your mentality is strengthening. Everything that you're throwing in, you're putting into it. You're going to basically get out what you put into it. And if you're not
Absolutely.
putting in with the results you want, then I mean you're not putting in to get those results.
100%. And you're absolutely right, Pitch. And the thing we did this week to do some of the things exactly what you're talking about, so we make sure we're finishing on Monday. After we did practice on Monday night, we did a 12-minute run. Afterwards, we did a 12-minute run. Yesterday, after practice, what we did, we had 5 two-point plays, and whoever won, the offense or defense, the team that lost, had to do a gasser. Same thing today. We did third down. Again, so we're trying to make competition, but at the same time, I want them to understand what finishing is all about. We can't have these let-ups in the fourth quarter. We can't sit down and be laxed on what we're doing. We got to make sure we keep pushing it and keep pushing it in the fourth quarter. So the thing about those competition things, the thing about a 12-minute run, at the end of practice, now you understand this, you got to go a little bit more. It's one of those situations where everybody has a breaking point. You and I talk about it all the time. Everything you're looking for is on the other side of hard. So how far can you push yourself? Because once you push yourself as far as you think you can, there's always another gear. And I'm trying to help these guys find that other gear, because the other gear is what's going to help us finish football games.
But Coach, I'm learning that sometimes being able to tap into another person's extra gear is whether or not they're willing to dig deep to pull that extra gear out. It's only so much, a coach can do. And two things for sure, one for certain, two things you can't do. You can't coach heart, you can't coach effort.
Right.
And those are things that come with that mentality of showing a mentalness or a mental toughness, to when it's fourth down, right? It's 4th and 2.
Yes.
It's 17 seconds left, right? Or no, let's say it's 4th and goal from the half-yard line. It's 17 seconds left.
Yes.
And I'm a D lineman. Am I going to cower into the fatigue? It's the fourth quarter.
Right.
I'm blocking offensive linemen. We've been heavy weighing on each other. We've been tearing each other down. It's been a long game. Do I have enough fortitude and mental toughness to dig deep into a well of wherever it need to come from to do my part, my job, to be that excellent and to be perfected, my 1 of 11th in that particular play? And I think it comes down to, again, our word of the week, the mental toughness. Sometimes self-check is one of the biggest checks. Did I give my all? And sometimes people not going to be honest with themselves and say, I didn't, because in the moment of fatigue, they feel like they are.
Yes, 100%. And exactly what you just said, the 1 of 11. I heard Ray Lewis talk about the 1 of 11. And when they won the Super Bowl that year, they won a Super Bowl and they were crushing people. And they won the best defense. I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it. But I'm just talking about a mentality. I'm talking about a mentality, bitch. I'm talking about a mentality. I know. I'm talking about a mentality.
I don't want my 412. I don't want my Yenzers to think that I done transformed and I done,
not at all.
I done morphed.
I'm talking about the man Ray Lewis. I'm not talking about the team. I'm talking about the mentality of the defense at the time that when he was talking about every one man felt like they could beat the other man. So when you got 1 of 11 thinking he can beat his man, that's how you win football games. There ain't but 11 guys on the field. So if I beat my one guy, I'm going to make the play. And that's why I tell people all the time, I tell like guys, there are 11 guys on the field. So that means every play should be stopped. So somebody got to get beat on one side of the ball in order for things to be executed. So we got to make sure we're doing those things. Everybody got to carry out their 111. But again, I understand 412 Yinzers. My bad. Just talking about the man. He went to the U. Come on, stop. You know what's up.
I know that's the guy. I know I can't do it because I feel like just like with fraternities, I feel like if you ain't a part of the fraternity, you can't throw it up. So
No,
I can't throw up the U like you could throw up the U because you are a University of Miami alumni. You played out there with the Hurricanes. So you have the liberty to do just that.
Yes. I got you. But no, I won't mention the team he played for. I wouldn't do that to you. I'm just talking about the mentality they had when he played on that particular football team.
And when it comes to football, I can be very transparent and honest. That 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Right? Across the board, hands down. You don't matter. And then a lot of people I don't know if they want to, realize it, but the offense wasn't that great. They did enough to put points on the board, but the Ravens defense did enough to not allow the other offenses to score.
100%.
Right? So that was the identity. And it's sad because a lot of times as time goes on and generations change, a lot of times I think that we get caught up on what was and not what have now, because I can assure you that there are Raven fans who feel that their defense isn't resembling the Ravens that they've known. Just like me as a Steelers fan, there have been moments when my defense don't look like the Steel Curtain, but guess what? We're not the same team. There's moments when our offense don't look good. Guess what? We're not the same running team. We gotta adapt to what we have, and the game has changed tremendously as well.
100%.
With the allowance of can't touch a receiver after 5 yards.
Yes.
Can't hit a quarterback here, can't hit a person here, can't chop block, can't crack back. I mean, the game has changed tremendously.
You can't even make a hard hit sometimes. I mean, I was watching the game the other day. Guy just made a good solid hit on the receiver across the middle, but I'm like, is he not supposed to tackle it? I mean, what is he supposed to do? So that's the whole thing. But it goes back to the 111, like we were talking about. Each man has a job to do, and his mentality has to be I have to take that 111. Somebody responded. Who talking to us right now?
That's my man Billy. That's Billy. Billy's always locked in with us. This is what I was talking about. With the West End Ducks from last week. And he's from Pittsburgh, and he already, we're honest. I think for the most part, Pittsburgh fans are honest when it comes to talking football. We just don't like to talk football with those people that never played it or really don't understand the details of the nitty-gritty of it, and they just look at their wins and losses. I don't got the energy or the time for them type of fans.
I got you. So go ahead.
But if we getting back to the upcoming game with Central Connecticut State. Coach, so you did mention the gassers and, building on that mental toughness and mentality of the team running gassers after practice or, after drills, etc. What are some other ways that you guys are preparing to take on this week's opponent at Central Connecticut State?
Well, those gassers were run after competition, so that's the other thing that's extremely important. We did a competitive thing at the end of practice to make sure it was at the end of practice. They were good and tired, so now they got to get pumped up again to get going, and they're going against each other. So again, now you're messing also the physical, but also the mental aspect of it, because you're taking it to another level when you start doing competition at the end as opposed to doing competition at the beginning and making sure these guys are going at each other.
Talking with Coach Bernard Clark Jr., through the Eye of the Tiger, discussing last week's game, or we discussed last week's game where they fell to Mary Mac. Now we're talking about the upcoming matchup with Central Connecticut State and their preparation.
I'm not sure if you can hear me, Pitch.
Good to go.
Yes, I can't hear you. That's the problem. I don't know what's going on, but I can't hear you.
Right. So if you can, Coach, go ahead and restart it. That's what is going on with your mic. You just got to restart it real quick. I took myself off the screen. So while Coach is doing that, we'll bring him back. But yeah, coaching them was up 10-7 going into the fourth quarter last week against Mary Mac. Had a mental fatigue, whatever lapse, however you want to characterize it. They end up losing 24 to 10. This week they're going against Central Connecticut State. We were talking with Coach about the preparation, how they're preparing for this week's game. And the coach is back with us now.
Yeah, no doubt. We're definitely preparing for it, getting our minds in the right direction because Central Connecticut also, they won the conference last year. So regardless of what their record is, regardless of what's going on, Central Connecticut found a way to win the conference last year. I always tell people the last 2 games of the year for them, they played us and they played the team in the city. And
I
they
love
called.
it. I love it, man. Listen, every time Coach say the team from the city, if you're not from Pittsburgh, you have no idea what that means. But it's a name that if you go to Robert Morris, you just don't say this name. Just how Steelers fans we feel about the them guys
team.
up,
Yeah.
them 410ers.
Yeah.
That's how Robert Morris feel about them other kids in the city back home in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so the last 2 games of the year they played against us and the team in the city, they caused 12 turnovers. I mean, this team knows how to find a way to win, and they do a great job of finding a way to win. And the quarterback they have, he does a great job of running that offense, and that middle linebacker they have does a great job of running defense. And the running back is good. They got some great players, and the coach does a good job of getting these guys prepared. So our mentality has to be right. So that's why we did the things we did this week in preparation for playing this team, who's a tough football team. So.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we talk discernment, we talk develop, we talk mentality. Is there ever a moment where you take a look at the pulse of the team and you say, hey, are these guys responding to what I'm putting down?
I think you do that every day as a head coach because there's some, but you also have the guys with certain personalities you're not sure about. You got the guys that, okay, I'm probably going to redshirt this guy this year. Is he listening? Is he paying attention? Is he still trying to grow with the word of the week? Is he still trying to grow with the 5th quarter we're putting in? Is he still trying to grow understanding that we all we got and we all we need? So all those things start to fall into play. And then, you have guys who are on board with that, who are excited about that, who's trying to make sure everybody else is excited about that. One of our leaders on our team, Pat McDonald, Pat asked me the other day, say, Coach, do you mind if I talk to the team? I say, Pat, anytime you want to talk to the team, you talk to the team. If you want to get their minds right and get them going, he's one of our linebackers and leading the team in tackles. So he's doing a great job for us. So he definitely has a voice on this team. So you want to make sure it's reaching as many people as possible. But sometimes you have to use a different voice. And I didn't mind using Pat's voice this week to reach out. Pat's voice this week to reach our team. I think he's going to do a good job in talking to those guys and getting their mindset and their mentality in the right direction.
Absolutely. And, Coach, before we fought, we're going to follow up on we're going to try to follow up this Saturday to do our game speaks. I may be at a location at another university.
Again, like we said, and not only that, you got a little man. Don't worry about it. If we can do it, we're gonna do it. If we can't do it, we're not gonna do it.
But I'm definitely going to shoot forward. It'll just be I'll find a spot where we can get in it because I know you guys have a later game, afternoon game.
Our game's at 2. Our game's at 2 o'clock. So you want to go 9, 10, we can do that. Just let me know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking about.
But until then, let's go, Bobby Mo!
Y'all know this. Hey, Coach, we having that energy, man. Listen, y'all know what it is. This is your boy Pitts, Coach Bernard Clark Jr., a.k.a. Tiger, Robert Morris University head football coach. The U alum, you already know what it is. He throw up the U every now and again. But appreciate you, Coach. Shout out to everybody that was watching us tonight. Again, me and Coach go every Wednesday at 6:30. Tap in, tune in, Bowie TV, Pitt Sports Zone, Robert Morris University, through the Eye of the Tiger, Coach Bernard Clark Jr. I'm your boy Pitts. Enjoy your Wednesday.
Much love.